Trump just flew to China with every single powerful CEO in America, and here is the real reason why. So Trump literally goes ahead and lands in the Beijing Capital Airport, and this is exactly who walks off. We literally have President Donald Trump. We have Elon Musk of Tesla, SpaceX, and X. We have Jensen Huang, NVIDIA. We have Tim Cook, Apple. We have Larry Fink, BlackRock. We have David Solomon, Goldman Sachs, and Blackstone, and more. So overall, the combined net worth of everybody is literally $1 trillion. Now, what happens when you see this and why this is very different and important is a U.S. president has not visited China in 9 years. Okay, so this is literally the first time ever with CEOs like this. The last president to visit China was Trump himself in 2017. Since then, we have trade war, we have COVID, we have semiconductor bans, we have Taiwan tensions, we have rare earth export controls. These are literally like 9 years of escalation. And what made this unprecedented was the CEO delegation was a signal. We have U.S. presidents go to China for diplomacy. They don't bring the CEO of the most valuable company, plus the world's richest man, plus the head of the world's largest asset manager. This is literally like a business pitch, okay? And what Trump said publicly, these great American companies are journeying to the great country of China. He posted this on Truth Social, named the CEOs, framed it as a business trip. He wanted Z to see who he brought. The guest list was the message. And Jensen wasn't actually originally invited, but he flew to Anchorage, Alaska to intercept Air Force One and board at the refueling stop. The CEO of the world's most valuable company rearranged his entire schedule to get on that plane. That literally tells you how much was at stake for NVIDIA. And every single one of them has billions of stake in China. Because of it, you have like Elon Musk, the Tesla Shanghai Gigafactory, largest Tesla export hub in the world. We're talking about like 292,000 vehicles sold from January to April 2026, up 26% year over year. We have Jensen from NVIDIA. China represents NVIDIA's largest potential market for AI chips. U.S. export controls have blocked sales of these chips to China, and he needs this resolved. We have Tim Cook. 80% of iPhones manufactured in China. We have 60 million plus iPhones sold annually in the US alone. Any manufacturing disruption is catastrophic for Apple's margins. And Larry Fink, BlackRock manages 10 trillion in assets, major exposure to Chinese markets. Regulatory access to China's 60 trillion financial system is the prize. And we have Kelly Ortberg, Boeing. China is the world's largest aviation market. China Airlines have hundreds of Boeing's jets on order. Trade tensions have frozen deliveries. Now, the 5 issues that will define the next decade of the U.S.-China relationships is, number 1, their rare earth exports. So China controls about like 90% of the world's rare earth refining. In April 2025, they cut exports by 50%. So every EV, every AI chip, every missile guidance system depends on these materials. This is the most critical issue on the table. Then we have like AI chips and export controls. The U.S. has banned export of advanced NVIDIA chips to China. China is developing competing chips, but they're 2 to 3 generations behind. And the AI arms race is the defining technology competition of this decade. We also have tariffs, the trade war truce. So after the 145% tariffs in 2025, a ceasefire was reached in October 2025. So the tariffs capped at current levels until November. Now, the Beijing summit was about extending the truth. Then you have Taiwan. So Xi warned Trump directly, the US and China will have clashes and even conflicts if Taiwan is mishandled. Okay? And the 5th issue is Iran war in the Strait of Hormuz. So Trump claims Xi offered to help open the Strait of Hormuz, closed by Iran conflict. The US war with Iran is disrupting global shipping and energy markets. China's leverage here is enormous. So China controls the material that run every AI chip on Earth. Rare earths aren't just for EVs, neodymium, dioprosium, terbium. These elements are inside every NVIDIA GPU. Every advanced semiconductor, every modern weapon system, China refines over 90% of the global supply. In April 2025, they cut exports by roughly 50% in retaliation for the U.S. export controls. And this is why Jensen flew to Alaska to intercept Air Force One. NVIDIA's entire AI chip business depends on resolving this. And China agreed to address American access to rare earths. Per the White House, the tariff ceasefire was extended. A follow-up with Z visit to the U.S. agreed for September 2026. No breakthroughs, but no collapse either. So America makes the best AI chips. China can't buy them. That's kind of like the biggest problem right now. They've banned exports of NVIDIA's most advanced AI chips. China has responded with its own chip development, but it still remains behind. And this creates like the central tension between the two. So the US position is export control exists to prevent China's military from access advanced AI capabilities. NVIDIA lost $15 billion in China revenue per year from these controls. The US government is divided. Pentagon wants control, tech companies want access. So China has Huawei Ascend chips, but they're still behind. Chinese AI labs like Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent desperately want access to NVIDIA hardware. China is betting on software efficiency to overcome hardware disadvantage. So what he actually said before boarding, we should let the president announce whatever he decides to announce. If invited, it would be a privilege. It would be a great honor to represent the United States. Then he flew to Alaska to get on Air Force One. So Xi looked Trump in the eye and said this about Taiwan. The US and China will have clashes and even conflicts if the long-standing issue with Taiwan independence is mishandled. This is literally direct. This is literally public. And in Xi's framing, he asked if US and China can avoid the Thucydides trap, where rising powers historically go to war. Now, Trump calls them fantastic trade deals. Here's what actually happened. So, $17 billion annual U.S. agriculture purchase through 2028. China agreed to buy at least $17 billion of U.S. agriculture goods. China to address rare earth access, vague but significant. White House announces China agrees to address American access to rare earth. Tariff ceasefire extended, no new escalation. Xi invited to the U.S. They decided to meet, so it seems like the relationship is stabilizing. And China offered to help open up the Strait of Hormuz. Trump claimed this publicly. If true, China is offering to use its influence with Iran to help resolve the conflict. This is enormous, if this is possible. Now, analysis say China came out of this relatively well. I mean, the tariff truce extended without major concessions. Rare earth, leverage preserved, control still lawful. And the symbolism of U.S. president coming to Beijing, Xi received Trump on home turf. That matters in Chinese political optics, right? Now, when it comes to this, the world's richest man flew to Beijing with the president he publicly fought with in 2025. So Musk and Trump had a very public falling out. Musk called out Trump. Trump fired back. There were claims about Jeffrey Epstein. It got ugly. Then China called, and Tesla's Shanghai factory, it's the largest global hub, needed political cover, so Musk was back on Air Force One. When $688 billion are at stake, personal beef just gets put aside. Every CEO on the plane that made a calculation, the cost of being to Beijing with Trump is less than the cost of not going. That's how power actually works. So also worth knowing, Musk left Dodge in early 2025. His relationship with Trump has normalized enough to be invited to the most important foreign trip of the presidency. So what this means is this trade wasn't about trade, or this trip wasn't about trade. It was about AI supremacy. That's kind of like the pattern. It's like the ones that know the most, have the most data. Doesn't matter if you're a business owner, an employee, a politician, a business owner. The ones that actually have the most use for AI are the ones that are going to win. These are trades, tariffs, soybeans, agriculture. These are the visible issues. But the real competition is which country will control the artificial intelligence over the next 30 years. So, US controls the hardware. China controls the raw materials. Mutually assured economic disruption for now. Neither side can fully escalate without hurting itself. The Beijing summit was both sides acknowledging this reality, stability over supremacy, at least until 2026. So, the 30-year frame, whoever wins the AI race controls the global economy. But it's not just that, it's also whoever controls the AI race in business, in local businesses, in whatever, they're going to end up like winning. Every meeting between Trump and Xi is really a negotiation over who that winner will be. So the US-China relationship affects every business on earth. Here's how. AI hardware costs are directly tied to this relationship. If rare exports stay restricted, the cost of AI chips rises. So all the businesses that are depending on AI, for cost savings, it could increase. Supply chains are not fixed. This trip just brought stability until 2026, right? If there is another tariff, it could affect a lot of businesses in just their costs, in their bottom line, affecting their profits. And the CEO delegation strategy is the real lesson, okay? What the most important conversation is happening is to be in the room on seeing where AI will essentially go. And geopolitics is now a business variable, not a background noise. So depending on what happens with US and China, it could dramatically influence your P&L, your profit and loss, your how much money you take home, the costs of your living expenses, every single thing. Now, the full timeline from trade war to summit, we have 2018, Trump launches first trade war. 2022 to 24, US ban exports of advanced AI chips to China. 2025, China cuts rare earth exports by 50%. October 2025, Busan summit, first Trump-Xi meeting since 2019. May 2026, Beijing summit, 1 trillion CEO delegation, deals announced, ceasefire extended. And then the next thing to put on your calendar is November 2026. The tariff ceasefire expires, the next test begins. You're also dealing with US midterm elections, California billionaire wealth tax, and the winter closes, so watch this date. It's a very important date. So before you take this as win, push back on it, we have no breakthrough on things that actually matter, no chip deal, no Taiwan resolution, no actual fundamental solution. The real thing is US and China describe the deals differently. Okay, so different perspectives. We have the clock problem, so November 2026 is coming fast. If Trump's party loses badly, the incentive to look tough on China increases dramatically. And what actually matters, the conversation is happening. The fact the meeting was more important than the deals, the world's two largest economies are talking, that's better than the alternative. So the real reason was simple. Neither side can win without the other. US controls the ships, China controls the materials, stability through mutual needs. And neither can actually fully escalate. The Beijing trip was both sides acknowledging this until 2026. And this is like one of, again, the most important things to know as a business owner, because regardless of what happens, whatever you're building right now, it could fundamentally affect what it is that the profit that you make, the revenue that you make, the costs that you have, the staff of your employees. If you have a job, it could affect your pay, it could affect your living expenses, it could affect the cost of everything to go out and survive. And just understanding how to now leverage AI and utilize AI in your life, in your business, in your career is one of the most important things, which is why if you want me and my team to help you, could check it out in the link below to book a call with me and my team. And I think the biggest thing you also need to learn with all of this is how the main idea is really AI. The ones that adopt AI the most are the ones that succeed, because